panic yet. I have built the perfect Game Week 3 wildcard draft for you to copy. Let's get straight into it. Okay, so let's start with my backline. I've gone with Cucurella. Listen, I keep saying it. Cucurella is the best £60 million defender to own in FPL. The positions he picks up on a football pitch are a joke. And I keep saying it. Cucurella is probably one of the only defenders in FPL that has the potential to get back-to-back 15-pointers. That's how high his ceiling is, and I believe it's worth paying the extra million getting Cucurella as the Chelsea coverage in defence rather than a Robert Sanchez. The other defender is Patrick Dorgu. This is a bit of a controversial one because United are horrible, but listen, the positions Dorgu does pick up are very, very positive in terms of getting those attacking returns potential. And I've watched pre-season for Manchester United. I've seen the opening game against Arsenal, for example. Dorgu's end product has slightly improved, which from an FPL point of view is all you can ask for, and hopefully you can pick up those attacking returns. My next to him is Van der Ven. Bournemouth is a difficult fixture, but listen, the impact Thomas Frank has had on that defensive line from Tottenham has been ridiculous, which is why I want some of that. Of course, ideally you would want Pedro Porro. Paying the extra million though at the start of the season when budget is really, really tight, it is a bit difficult. But if you have that extra million, if you can find it somewhere in this team, upgrading Van der Ven to Pedro Porro is obviously a great solution. The other people in the back line, Steve, Manchester United, where you Game Week 3, you know he's going to be a £4 million defender that's going to play. Just go with him. He's going to sit on the bench. He's going to play. There's nothing else to argue. And the other defender is Lacroix, £5 million from Crystal Palace. The opening two fixtures, he's got DEFCON points in both. So he's a bit of a DEFCON monster. We even saw it last season in the Premier League. And overall, Oliver Glasner is a very, very organised manager. We know the impact he's had at Crystal Palace has been phenomenal. Crystal Palace's next three fixtures are very good coming up. And listen, long may it continue from an FPL point of view if you own Lacroix. In goal, Sells. Game Week 3, he has West Ham. That's the fixture to target right now in the Premier League after a 5-1 defeat to Chelsea. Morale is low. Confidence is low. There's a lot going on outside of Graham Potter's control in terms of bothering people who are not unhappy with the business West Ham have done. But listen, even though Nottingham Forest haven't kept a clean sheet, you still have enough faith that they will do soon. And Nuno, he's a defence-first manager. You know he's going to build from the back, which is why I've gone with Sells. And the other keeper is the Bravka. He's the only £4 million keeper that plays. So that's just a safety bet on the bench. Okay, so let's get into the midfield. Let's start with the king of FPL, Mo Salah. Mo Salah on the football pitch, if you watched him over the first 2 weeks in the Premier League, has been very, very quiet. But he's walked out with a goal. He's walked out with an assist. And this is what I keep saying. Having those 90-minute men are so beneficial for FPL. Because if he wasn't playing right to the end of the game against Newcastle, right to the end of the game against Bournemouth, he would have not got those points. But that's the benefit of paying that extra million for Mo Salah. And that's why he's the goal of FPL. And that's why you have to pick him. How can you not have Mo Salah in FPL? That's all I'm going to say. Even though his Game Week 3 fixture against Arsenal is very tough. But great fixtures after that. Anderson is the next midfielder. And I know a lot of people are going to say, Baines, why are you not going to go with Reinders? I've said this before and I'll say it again. I do not trust Reinders' role at Manchester City. I don't know where or what area of the pitch he's going to be in terms of he's so good in all phases in terms of build-up, box crashing, for example, if he's playing a bit more higher up on the pitch. And we saw it against Tottenham. He was platformed completely differently to how he was in the first weekend of the Premier League against Wolves. Cherky was the guy playing number 10. Reinders was obviously a bit deeper. We didn't see the same attacking influence. Of course, Tottenham are a tougher team, but we didn't see the same attacking influence from Reinders in that game, which is why I'd rather just have the safety of Anderson, hoping you'll pick up DEFCON points, than worrying about, obviously, Pep Roulette with Reinders potentially as well, or any City player, or bar maybe Erling Haaland, but also the role that he's going to play. Another one, Brennan Johnson. I know a lot of people are going to say, Baines, why are you not going with Kudos? And I've said this before and I'll say it again. I keep saying that phrase, but I'm going to say it again. And that is, Kudos from an FPL point of view, for me, just doesn't have that goal scoring aspect that you want. In that, against Manchester City, for example, on the weekend, he accumulated an extra 0. Against Burnley on the opening weekend, I think it was 0.06. So, going forward, listen, Kudos might create, for example. His assist numbers are very good. He got 2 assists in the opening weekend, for example. But overall, midfielders get more points for goals than they do for assists. Brennan Johnson, the opening 2 weekends, has scored in both. And listen, we've seen Brennan Johnson last year. He can go on those goal-scoring runs, which is why I would think this is a very, very nice differential to have, because I don't think a lot of people are thinking about it. But we know the impact Brennan Johnson can have. So I think this is a really nice pick, which I think a lot of people in the community are not thinking about. But listen, I've gone with Brennan Johnson. The man next to him is Semenyo. Semenyo last year in the Premier League had the fourth most shots. So, as I kept saying, midfielders get more points for goals, and Semenyo is always going to be in that area just to take a shot, which will obviously hopefully lead to goals from an FPL point of view. And the opening 2 weekends, he's looked brilliant. We saw what he done against Liverpool. Everyone watched it Friday night, even this weekend. I think he hit the crossbar for one of the chances. He got an assist as well. So Semenyo, from an attacking point of view, is very good. And listen, we still trust Bournemouth enough to get those goals. Areola, however you pronounce his name. We know he's an offensive manager. So there's no doubt with me that Semenyo is a good pick. And Bournemouth have phenomenal fixtures coming up. The man next to him is another one that I think people might say, Sarr, really, Baines? But listen, of course there's going to be a bit of question marks over Crystal Palace. How are they going to set up without Eze? I've seen a lot of people question where the creativity is going to come from. In the Conference League game that Eze didn't play, of course it was against weaker opposition. Crystal Palace still managed to create 5 big chances. And listen, Sarr's another one of those players where he will always play towards 85 to 90 minutes. We know the impact Sarr can have from an offensive point of view in terms of stretching the back line. Crystal Palace's record against Aston Villa in recent times has been phenomenal. We saw what they did to them in the FA Cup semis last year. That's why I think Sarr is a really, really interesting pick to have. And I don't want to double up with him and, let's say, Johnson and Kudos in the £6.5 million price bracket. I've gone with Sarr. I'm happy with that. Now let's get into the attack and listen. Let's start with João Pedro. This is also more of an ownership play because we know how highly owned João Pedro is. And I'm a safe manager, as I think people will realise. But I would say this, the position João Pedro picked up against West Ham was a massive positive. He was playing in behind Liam Delap. We saw João Pedro, he can score, he can assist, he's so good in those pockets, which I think really, really benefited João Pedro's game. And the setup that we saw against West Ham is something from an FPL point of view that I hope Enzo Maresca sticks with going forwards. And of course, in that game, Cole Palmer was missing. If Cole Palmer was fit, would João Pedro have had the same role? I think so. I think Cole Palmer would have been the guy on the left. Neto on the... Palmer would have been the guy on the right. Neto would have been the guy on the left. Liam Delap up top and then João Pedro in behind it, which I think really, really suits his game. And listen, Chelsea have great fixtures coming up. And Chelsea are one of the better sides in the Premier League. We're already seeing it. So what's not to like? Other than potential minutes. But listen, if Liam Delap is the one starting, you would hope there's no one else really potentially to come off for João Pedro's place. But you never know with Chelsea because they have so many players and so many good players. The man next to him is Erling Haaland. Listen, Manchester City we still have probably question marks about, but Erling Haaland as an FPL asset is very, very good. Brighton is a brilliant fixture this week in Game Week 3. That is probably someone you would want to captain. And listen, if Salah has Arsenal, you're not really going to captain him. You're not really going to captain any other midfielders or maybe João Pedro. That's why you have to have Erling Haaland in. And another thing I say is, if Palmer... we know Palmer and Saka are out for now. I think having 2 premium players in FPL is very, very beneficial. Just for example, having Haaland and Salah. Now, say when Palmer and Saka are back and they're performing and you might want to bring them in. Just because you already have that 2 premium structure, it's just easier to navigate and use less transfers to bring those in. Whereas, say for example, you don't have Erling Haaland. You go with a Chris Wood, for example, or Ollie Watkins. You're going to spread the money, for example... Ollie Watkins is 9 million, Haaland's 14. That 5 million you're now going to spread around the rest of the team. So now once you want to bring in a Palmer or maybe a Haaland or maybe a Saka in a later point, it's just a bit more difficult now using as many or as little as transfers as possible to make those changes happen, if that makes sense. And listen, Erling Haaland, as I kept saying, is a brilliant asset. City are still going to be one of the best goal scoring sides in the Premier League. They always are, we know that. And Krupa Jr. is the first forward that I have on the bench. The reason I keep saying Krupa Jr. over Gueye, listen, we don't trust Gueye with minutes at Sunderland. The 2 forwards that came on in the opening weekend, or not came on, the one that started, the one that came on for Sunderland, both scored. So, is Mark Gueye really going to get minutes? The answer is no. Krupa Jr. is second in line at Bournemouth behind Ivan Nilsson. And in the opening 2 weekends, he has come on in both. So listen, it's not a lot, but he's going to come in for the potential 1 point if you really, really need it. But hopefully not, because this team is looking great. But listen, this is my Game Week 3 wildcard draft. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're on wildcard, if you're on a free hit. If not, let me know your plans for Game Week 3. But make sure you guys like the video. Comment your thoughts on my wildcard team. Subscribe to the channel. And remember, turn the notification bell on. Otherwise, I'm going to be angry.